why bother doing budgets? This is an exercise that we go through with clients on a regular basis. And I've talked to many dealers, that aren't clients that will come back and that they'll either raise points or they'll ask questions that are similar to things like, well, doing budgets, isn't that just a bunch of extra work? And I will say, if you're not approaching it correctly, it's possible that it could be just a bunch of extra work. But if you treat it like that planning and really, that forward-looking prognosis of where you're looking to head, then it's not a bunch of extra work because it really does lay the groundwork. It's setting the goal for where you want to be. And I think most people would agree that if you set a goal, you've got a much better shot at achieving it than if you just say, well, we're going to go about the business day in and day out, and we'll see where we end up. So it only would potentially be a bunch of extra work if you're not approaching it correctly. The next one that I've heard on a number of occasions is people say, well, we've done this in the past, but the numbers never come in as planned, meaning that, okay, we sit down, we figure out our budget, we figure out what the numbers should be, and then when we get to the end of the year and we look back, we realize that, it didn't come in exactly as we had planned for it to come in, whether it's on the revenue side, the cost of goods side, or the expense side. The reality here is I will definitely tell you that one for one, anybody that's taken the time to do a budget and then manage that, as we get into here in the process, will look back and say that, yeah, they might not have come in exactly as planned, but they certainly came in at the end of the year better than they would have had we not gone through this process and really worked toward achieving those goals. Another one that I've heard before, it's just a stab in the dark. Look, any goal really is, to some extent, a stab in the dark, meaning that if you don't know exactly where you're headed, you pick someplace you want to be, whether that's a revenue target or it's some other target in your life. You pick up a goal, you pick a number, and then you start to work towards it. Another one that I hear is that, well, things change as the year goes on, so, we put all this time and effort into doing a budget, and then 3 months into the year, it's outdated and it's not really, it's no longer accurate. I'm going to touch on what you can do to address that if there are significant changes. But the reality is, yes, things will change throughout the year. That's part, again, of why we do these budgets, because it gives us something to focus on as far as where we're headed. And if things change, then it means that, okay, if we still want to achieve the goal that we had set out, what do we need to do differently to make sure that we achieve that? And then another one that I hear on occasion is, this is why people never follow them anyway. And I'm going to touch on why that can be. But most often, the reason that people don't follow them is that not everybody in the company is always in the loop on a regular basis as far as what we're doing with the budgets, where we are relative to achieving them, and what are the plans that we need to actually put in place to make this work.